and the county government. Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank the authors of the bill because they appreciate that fact. That is why, under this bill, the functions of the county government and the functions of the national government are clearly spelled out insofar as regulation of the gambling industry is concerned. Honorable Speaker, I have also read the substance of the bill, and the issues that are of fundamental importance. One is that in terms of licensing, Honorable Speaker, it has been said that the entity that shall be given the license to run or to run this gambling facility shall be a corporate entity. That means that that corporate entity shall be responsible in law, because a corporate entity has certain provisions in terms of perpetual succession, in terms of suing and being sued, so that it is not left to individuals. If it is a corporate entity, then they shall bear certain legal consequences. Honorable Speaker, and that provides that that entity must have a minimum of 30% shareholding by Kenyans. So, Honorable Speaker, we have had issues whereby we've had gambling companies from outside Kenya who have no interest in Kenya, and therefore it is very clear now under this bill that 30% of the shareholders must be Kenyans. Number two, Honorable Speaker, is that they have been authorized to maintain an account in a financial entity within the Republic of Kenya, so that the amount of money collected is not remitted to another country. The fact that the money that is accrues out of the gambling is directed or channeled towards a financial institution in Kenya, for me, is a gain. Honorable Speaker, this authority that has been created, the Gambling Regulation Authority, shall also be able to provide or issue out licenses and revoke licenses. We've had problems under the current regime whereby we have lacked a specific authority that can be able to revoke a license once it is misused. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I have had the leader majority commenting on the issue of taxation. And, Honorable Speaker, the Committee on Sports has proposed a reduction of taxes from 15% to 13%. Honorable Speaker, I see no reason of challenging that provision or that particular amendment or proposed amendment. Honorable Speaker, we must be careful as a country. In as much as we want to collect taxes, we should not tax our people out of business. Honorable Speaker, I call upon the committee to make a comparative study. Look at Tanzania, look at Uganda, look at East African countries, the taxation regime, so that we don't tax those people out of business. Honorable Speaker, the moment we raise a taxation in a comparative way more than the other East African countries, then our investors in this country shall be able to move to other countries that have more friendly tax regimes. So, Honorable Speaker, I call upon that committee to look critically, and when it comes to the committee of the whole, we shall propose an amendment to agree with the committee so that we can be able to retain the percentage that the committee has thought out to be 13% and be able to maintain that particular provision. Honorable Speaker, I support this bill because most Kenyans are gambling, they are betting their lives, and they are becoming miserable out of losing a lot of money towards betting. So, Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this bill.
The Honorable Member of Parliament for Mandera, for Abdul Haro.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Followed by Metuse. Is that Metuse? Yeah, you've been out.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand from the outright to say that I oppose this bill, because I think gambling in the first place is a bad business. It has caused a lot of suffering in many homes. It has affected a lot of, almost all facets of our society. The youths in school and the youth out of school are affected. Adults are affected. People have gambled away their terminal benefits. People have gambled away their farms. People have gambled away their homes. And I think it has caused a lot of suffering. So, Honorable Speaker, Gambling, as it has been defined, is a game of chance. And that means it encourages laziness. People just want to make easy money without working for it, which is bad in the first place. And in order to save our society, which has been affected in a big way, I don't think regulating gambling will be the solution. Totally banning gambling, I think, according to me, will be the solution. Even if you impose tax on gambling, you're just imposing tax on a bad business. Even if you say the license holder should participate in corporate social responsibility, you're developing community projects through a bad business. Even if you say a certain percentage of saving should be forced on the gambler, I think it's bad to save money from a bad business in the first place. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I think gambling is bad for this country, it's bad for our society. It is going to be even more dangerous the moment we start regulating it. It means by regulating gambling and allowing it to flourish, we should also tax drug dealers. We should also tax, get corporate social responsibility from drug money. We should also get savings from drug money. And I think for that reason, I totally oppose this bill, and gambling should be outlawed completely. Thank you.
Metuse? No, the Honorable Metuse?
I didn't want to contribute on this. Mr. Speaker.
Is the Honorable Member of Parliament for Limuru in the House? The Honorable John Kiragu? Is he in? Yes. Okay, you follow Metuse.
Mr. Speaker, I want to join the members of the Committee on Sports and the promoter of this bill, the Honorable Leader of Majority, and members who have contributed this afternoon in supporting the enactment of the Gambling Control Bill into law. We support this because we have to create a society that believes in the values of hard work. We support this because our youth are the leaders that will inherit this country. And for them to inherit this country and to take it forward, it is important that from the onset, good values and ethics are impacted upon them. We have reached a point where gambling has become an alternative to people going to their farms to till. We have reached a point in this country where gambling is becoming an alternative for young people to school, because many of them are now beginning to argue that you do not need a university degree to gamble, and therefore it has become an alternative to people going to school. We have reached a point where people only need wake up and find crafty ways of obtaining a smartphone and some airtime so that they begin to engage in gambling as a source of income. And like it has been explained, gambling can never be a source of sustainable and regular income. Number two, Mr. Speaker, most of the gambling firms that we have operating around, many of them are also owned by foreigners. And because the sector has not been regulated, it has caused a lot of capital flight. People come here with funny lotteries, funny promotions, they get licensed, they have some M-Pesa digits, they collect billions and billions of money, but the money is not reinvested in the country. There has not been a clear mechanism for them paying taxes so that those taxes can also impact in terms of our development. And therefore, because of the unregulated nature of the gambling and lottery industry, a lot of the money is being shipped from our economy, and it explains partly why our economy is also suffering in terms of cash flow. And therefore, to require that the corporations the firms, the companies that will be licensed to carry out gambling must have a minimum of 30% shareholding that is local, is in itself very, very noble. Turning to taxation in terms of whether, as proposed in the bill, we should tax at 15% or reduce to the percentage proposed by the committee at 13%. I support the sentiments by members that taxation must be set using an objective criteria. By objective criteria, I mean we must do the delicate balancing of collecting the sin tax so as to apply it to developing the social fabric of those who may have been affected by gambling, but also counterbalance it with the interest of those who are investing. And this broadly speaks to our taxation regime in comparison with our neighboring countries and also those countries that are in competition with us in terms of attracting investment. And therefore, I will be expecting the committee to be telling us in reply why they recommended a reduction, what is the scientific reasoning, because it is not just about arithmetics, it is not just about figures, it is not just about 15 and 13%. There must be some scientific thinking that informs us in terms of what we said. But in my view, the tax that is going to be imposed on gambling firms must be one that, number one, prevents people from making it very easy for firms and for individuals to participate in this. And number two, we must also set a taxation system that is very efficient, so that immediately any person gambles, then the taxman or the taxwoman or tax institutions are able to receive their taxes promptly, noting that many of the directors of these companies, as I had said earlier, may not be local. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon, I support the passage, enactment into law of the Gambling Control Bill so as to regulate the sector and so as to create a responsible society, noting that a lot of the people who are gambling are young people. And like I have said earlier, gambling is beginning to confuse our young people from doing that which is meaningful to them to engaging in the quick gains, in the quick promises that come with the monies that are often pledged in gambling. And as I finalize, Mr. Speaker, it is also important that within this law, we regulate how marketing for gambling is done. Mr. Speaker, you are aware that under the Tobacco Control Act, the law on tobacco control regulates how you do advertisement for cigarettes, for example, in this country. That as you do advertisement for cigarettes, you have also to highlight that they are harmful to people's health. And we have even gone further, that you demonstrated through photographs that somebody knows, when I buy this packet of cigarettes and I smoke, this is how my lungs will look like, and there is possibility that I am going to get sick. I want to propose that within the gambling law, the advertisement for gambling cannot just be done in a manner that makes it very cozy, in a manner that makes it very, very nice. It must now be required as part of this law that as you advertise for gambling, you must also say the bad side of gambling, so that from the beginning, those who are gambling are able to make a choice between the monies that they are likely to win, but also the bad effects of gambling. And for that reason, I beg to support, Mr. Speaker.
The MP for Limuru, followed by the MP for Nyeri Town, and then followed by the MP for Mosop.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance to put up a few remarks on this bill. First, I rise to support this bill, knowing that in fact gambling and prostitution are two very difficult industries around the world to either control or eradicate. We know that over the years, criminal elements have always had a hand in gambling, and those who know anything about mafia and the activities in the world will know that we are dealing with a very difficult industry. But, Honorable Speaker, there is a good thing about regulating such an industry. One is because it's important for us to know who are in the industry, where do they do this business, and how do they use the proceeds that they make. Mr. Speaker, in this country, many of the people now are gambling online, others are doing it in residential areas. We no longer have any areas specifically to do the gambling. Those who know some places like Las Vegas, they know that is a city that was built on gambling and prostitution. And for this reason, Mr. Speaker, it is important for us to make sure that as we allow gambling to continue, we must make sure that we have the right regulations to control this industry. This industry, yes, there is money that can be raised. Mr. Speaker, I have seen the proposed tax regime for these earnings. And I was just wondering, Mr. Speaker, how do you have a flat rate for people who may be earning